Welcome back to the Page Break Podcast with Rich and Brian. We are the co-owners of Genesis Publishing House. And right now we're doing a little series on just assisted self-publishing in general, and then kind of what it means to work with Genesis, and then kind of what you can expect going through that process. So we've done an overview and we did editing, but today we're just going to talk about what it looks like, because I think every author, when they start out, especially if they've never done this before, the process itself, like the nuts and bolts of it, can be a little bit daunting. And so we're going to just walk you through what that process looks like with us, and then maybe where we're different than other people, but essentially like what's going to happen once you actually pay your invoice and start publishing with Genesis. So, Brian, kick us off. Tell us a little bit about what happens.
Yeah. So one thing I think that we do well, and again, a lot of this is because we've been in this industry for so long. We've had a chance to see, what works and what does not work, or, maybe can be improved on. And even us today, with Genesis being coming up on, 5 years, we make changes in our process every now and then if we think it's going to be beneficial to you, as an author. But the great thing about it is that you see everything as it happens. So you're kind of like you're the final say. I mean, at the end of the day, yes, we're going to guide you, but this is still your book, your project. So just because we may have a different feeling from whether it's a cover issue or editorial, things like that, whatever it is, you're still going to have a chance to see it and say, I want it this way or that way. But like I said, yeah, we've been in the industry a long time. So we will, of course, always give the best possible feedback. So once the process begins, we say, hey, we basically tell you, okay, based on what you want, here's what we can do for you. And, we give you the cost on what it's going to be. And, you say, hey, this sounds good. Let's get this done. So you'll be sent an invoice, comes through QuickBooks. And, once you pay your invoice, you will automatically have a project ID generated. Once that project ID is generated, that's when production is notified that, okay, we have a new author in the system. Usually within 48 hours, depending on the time of day. If it's on a Friday afternoon, it's probably going to be Monday morning or so. But you're going to receive a Genesis welcome letter. The email that you get it from is going to say Genesis correspondence. And they're going to welcome you to Genesis, give you your project ID number, just give you a few, bits and pieces about the process. But you're also going to get a service order, and you're going to fill that service order out. They're going to ask you things like, do you have a recommendation on the size of your book? Do you have a pen name, basic information, full name, address, phone number, just little things like that in case we ever need to have for some reason, some additional contact information for you. We will have that about the book, about the author, things like that. A lot of it you may not know at the moment that you receive that service order, and that's fine. You don't have to have it completely filled out. Rich and I are always here to help you fill it out. Just like anything in life, if you've never done it before, you don't know what you don't know. So we can definitely help you do those kind of things, get those things filled out. But once that's turned in and filled out, depending on what you're having done, usually within 2 or 3 days, you'll be asked about your cover. Do you have a cover in mind? Do you have at least a concept? Most authors have at least an idea what they want, not necessarily what it's going to look like for sure, but they may say, hey, I'm going to, maybe it's a book about parenting, and I have, a mom on one side, a little 4-year-old in the middle, and a dad on the other side, and we're walking in a park. And it can be as simple as that. And then we kind of take it from there. Never should you as an author assume that the first draft that you get is going to be 100%. Yes, I love it. I don't want any changes. This is perfect. That's not realistic. It's just simply not. If you can't even say exactly what you want, there's no chance that someone who doesn't know you is going to be able to get it spot on the first round. The good news is that just because we give you a first draft doesn't mean that's what it's going to be. You might like 30% of what the first draft is. So then that's when we focus on that 30%. And we go from there. So we'll have back and forth revisions, until the cover is the way you want it. While that's going on the other side, depending on the type of editing that an author is looking for, you can have basic editing, which for the most part is just, let me make sure everything is in place from a sentence structure standpoint, grammar, you're going to have misspellings that sometimes the computer won't even catch. But that's the good part about an edit, is that the edit will make sure those things get handled. Or if you're looking for a more in-depth edit, that's where you'd be working with someone one-on-one, which we offer that as well. If you listen to our editing podcast that we did a few days ago, that's something that we offer that no one else in this industry does offer, is you can actually speak with your editor, which simply does not happen in this industry. So that and the cover can, be worked on at the same time. and it really helps move the process along. Once the editing is done, and I'll let Rich handle kind of where we go from after the edit is complete.
Yeah, I did want to throw in here that these two segments of getting the book done, the cover and the editing, again, most companies don't do those simultaneously. That's one of the things we do to speed the process up a little bit because we feel like a little bit, kind of better process. But these are kind of the first two freak out moments. And you're going to have some of those through the publishing process. It's really fun. We try to make it as painless as possible, but this is a book you might have worked on for the last 5 years, and now you're trying to make that vision come to fruition. And so I think the cover design part, just like Brian mentioned, we get a lot of emails or calls back after the first or even the second cover revision, and people go, my goodness, I'm so depressed or distraught or whatever. But just like he mentioned, just understand that this is part of the process. We don't ever get it wrong. And so, or I say we don't ever get it wrong. I'm sure there are people that throughout the course of 15 years of working in the industry, we haven't nailed the cover the way they wanted to, but we'll do enough revisions to where we get it the way you want it. So that's one of the and then editing is another thing where people kind of feel like they're overwhelmed. So the editing process can be a place where people freak out a little bit. But that being said, just follow the steps through. And when we get to the end, it's going to work out the way you want it to. So we've gone through cover, you've gone through 2 or 3 revisions, you've got it exactly like you want. You're going through editing, you've followed some of the editor's input, you've declined some of the changes, accepted some of the changes. Next, we move into interior layout and design. This is probably, in my opinion, the easiest part of the process for the majority of books because they're just text-based fiction books that, they're going to look essentially like all the other books on the industry. And you might have a few things you want to do differently. You can ask for information or input on how you should format or set things up. But keep in mind, none of us, me and Brian, probably will give you a little more input than maybe our staff would. John Fish, Rowella, Albert, any of the people that you're working with inside, if you ask them for advice, they are likely going to just default to kind of whichever way you're leaning. Because at the end of the day, you own this material, right? It's your book. And I think a lot of people are looking for us to kind of bail them out and give them advice when when the book is complete, and that's the one thing people don't like is the advice we gave you, then all of a sudden we've become, we've done something that hurt the book instead of help it. Asking some of the internal staff, production staff, like, what do you think I should do about this particular? It's probably best to get input from Brian or I, or maybe some other people who you're close to. But the production staff, that's not really what they're there for, because Genesis doesn't own your property, right? You own it. And so we want it to be as close to your vision as we can. That being said, one other little tip, and then after we get through design, I'll let Brian talk about distribution and a few other things. Asking us, Brian and I, to get involved in production stuff as much as we want to help. And we do, we're helpful guys. We are not production people. And so there are times where I may be like, I might make it worse. If I get involved in the creative side, I don't want to make it worse, but that's just not my forte. And we'll try to jump in and help. But there probably is, something to be said for just keeping in contact with John and the production team and really giving them all the information in the emails and the paperwork that they have for you so that they can fix any issues, because it's just not, we're good at a lot of things. That's not some of the, designing a book on the interior and the layout. I wouldn't, it's just not what we do. So following the process and sticking to like the revision cycles, filling out the paperwork that they ask you to fill out, giving them lots and lots of information. Even if you think you're sharing too much, I promise you're not. Just share as many things as you can. And following this process is how we haven't got it right every single time, but we get it right almost every time. So if you kind of stick to that, don't panic. The cover's going to end up looking great. The editing's going to be great. The interior is going to look great, and just follow the plan. Then I think it usually will go pretty well. That from the beginning of paying your invoice to when we finish the interior is usually going to take about 12 to 14 weeks is kind of where we're at right now. Maybe a touch longer if there's more revisions, and maybe a little bit shorter if you love the very first draft. But then, there's a lot more work to be done on your end after that final revision is made on the interior. Kind of talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, one thing I'll mention, talking about, you freak out moments and things like that. It's common just because a lot of you out there listening, if you've never done this before, you just don't know what to expect. If you see something you don't like, a lot of times it's human instinct. Oh, this is terrible. This is the worst. I can't believe this has been messed up so bad. And I guess it's just simply not the case. But your brain tells you everything is falling apart, and it's just simply not true. It's as simple as sending a sending a quick message. Hey, can this be revised? Hey, can we do this differently? And the answer 99.9% of the time, yes, it can be done differently. So yeah, don't try not to let yourself have those freak out moments just because you don't understand what's happening or you think something looks different than what your vision is, because every single thing that we do in here can be revised. So that's the best way I can kind of piggyback off of what Rich said. Another thing is make sure you're checking your email literally daily. There are some points in this process where you'll get an email literally every single day from Genesis. I had an issue literally just yesterday where someone said, "Hey, I don't know if I'm supposed to be doing something, but I haven't heard anything since the 19th," and they didn't reach out to me. They didn't reach out to production. And I said, I searched the author's name. I said, well, I have an email right here, actually two emails asking about something, and it went to their junk mail. So for one reason or another, I don't know why it happens, but it does. But just make sure you're checking your spam folder, as well, because there's a lot of communication that happens. And if production is not getting responses, that means that for the most part, the project is kind of stuck. And production, they think in their mind, they're waiting on you. And in your mind, you're waiting on them. So just make sure you're always checking email every day and spam as well, just in case for some reason your server sends a message to the spam folder. Yeah, like Rich said, usually about 12 weeks is pretty standard as far as like getting everything completed. Of course, yeah, it is up to a lot of that's going to be based on the number of revisions. We've had books done in 8 weeks. We've had books that uh, I would say have been over a year just because the author has decided that, well, I'm going to add a chapter or I'm going to go a different division or a different direction. And that's totally fine if you want to do that. Just make sure that you're keeping in touch with people on our side to let them know. That way we're not constantly every 3 or 4 days like, hey, just making sure you didn't miss this email or know that I'm waiting on this or that. Just say, hey, I'm making some revisions. I'll get back with you in a month or 2 weeks or you know, whatever you think it is. On the distribution side, so yeah, all that stuff gets done. At that point, we get it uploaded. Before it gets uploaded, we will send you what's called an EPUB file, which is basically what your ebook will, for the most part, look like on Apple or a Kindle or whatever your e-reading device is. So they'll send you that, and that'll be your final proof before it gets sent to distribution. So once distribution gets it uploaded from production, it usually takes about 3 to 5 days to get approved by Ingram. Ingram is the distribution company that literally 99.9% of all publishers work with. And I think I mentioned this on one of our earlier episodes. You're going to have the same distribution as, look on your nightstand right now and see what book is there, or your bookshelf or your desk or whatever your, the author that you like. It's the same distribution channel as that. So, or I'm sorry, as them. So you get the best in the world on that front. Like I said, usually about 3, 5, maybe 7 days for the approval. And the approval process is just basically making sure that all the printer specs are set up properly. When I'm saying printer specs, I'm talking like the margins and the format, that kind of stuff. And I think we mentioned this on a previous episode as well. But those are the kind of things that like you can't really do on your own. Even though an author may think they can do it on their own, it takes an absolute exact science to get it ready for distribution and printing. So that's a big thing that people hire us to do. So once that is up there and you approve it, it will get sent to the retailers. And you'll basically be given two dates: a published date and then an on sale date. The published date is basically usually a month, sometimes 2 weeks before the on sale date. The on sale date is where it's basically everywhere and ready to be purchased and basically delivered within a couple of days. But there is a period in between. That's usually 2 to 4 weeks where it's not necessarily available everywhere. It's not ready to be shipped the next day on Prime or whatever. So that's basically how the process works. And of course, we also set you up with your own account so you can buy your own books. That's a great way to, in my opinion, pay yourself back. If you're buying your books for $4 and you're selling them for $14.99, obviously that's a $10 profit that you're not going to get on a retail side. Selling it through Amazon, you're probably going to make about $3 to $5 a copy after they take their fees, their print costs, and their middleman fees to sell it and ship it for you. Making your own, or yeah, having your own print order is by far the best way from a financial standpoint to pay yourself back if that's a goal for you. Not everybody cares about that, but if that is something that you're focusing on, then 100% you need to purchase your own books, and we can walk you through that.
Yeah, couple of things about distribution to know that are probably our biggest two calls and like again, freak out panic moments is every company that sells a book updates their metadata and all the information that they have at a different rate. So, what we've found over the years is like, for instance, Barnes and Noble will probably have your book for sale first, and it will almost always be right. Like all of the author bio stuff will be in there and all of that. Barnes and Noble just sells books for the most part, and they've kind of got that down. Walmart usually a second, and they're also really good about, the data and everything being correct. Then Target and Goodreads and Books A Million and all these other places kind of filter in after that. Amazon is almost always towards the end of whatever is available. And I don't know how they pull data across from distribution places, but it's also the data itself populates a little slowly sometimes. So you might see the hardcover there first, and then you might see the ebook and then the paperback or some variation of that. And then it might not have your author bio the first day it's there, but then the about the book is there or vice versa or whatever. But it pulls information slowly. Just know that number one, there isn't anything anybody in the world can do about that. We would all love to fix it. It's just an Amazon thing usually. And it always all comes through. Like it may update a week later than everything else, but it's going to be there eventually. And so you just be patient with it. We get a lot of emails, a lot of calls. Oh my goodness, this wasn't set up correctly on Amazon. Well, if it's showing up correct everywhere else, they're all pulling the data from the same place. And so it will eventually show up correctly on Amazon. We're not sure why it works that way with just Amazon, but it does. And they always get it right in the end. We've never had a book that it wasn't correct within a week or so after everything else. So that's a moment that we get a lot of calls about, emails about. Another one is, what if I want to change something after I've already put it out there in the world? I saw the proof and it looked good, but then once I saw it in real life, I wanted to change something. That can be done, but it is more complicated than just waiting for the metadata to update. And so there's some actual hard costs for us in that. So just know that we can do pretty much anything, but some of it may actually cost. We may have to invoice you for, so the book's been out for a month and you decided to change the cover. Well, I've got to pay designers to redo the cover, but we've also got to pay the distribution company pays, they require payment to take it down and re-upload it after a certain date. So those, I would say, amongst distribution are probably the two biggest questions I get. Brian may have some others, but the speed at which the metadata comes across the, internet universe, and what do I do if there's something about the book that I signed off on that's different than a printer error. Printer errors happen, 1 in 10,000 books or whatever it might be. All you have to do is just order another and tell them there was an error. That's not what we're talking about here. What we're talking about is you signed off on something and then decided you wanted to change it, which happens. It can be done. It's just we got to pay people to do that part of it.
Right.
But other than those two things, I think the distribution angle is pretty hands off on the author's part. Like you're going to get emails from the distribution company because we're setting you up as the owner of that account, but our people are handling that behind the scenes. I think we see people go in and go, oh my goodness, I got an email that I need to approve this, and they go in and do something in the account when we're still working in it. So until you change the password to your password, just kind of let us handle everything on our end.
Yeah, that's a really good point. We can't stress that enough. If someone outside of Genesis asks you to do something, basically don't do it. You can forward the email. Hey, what do I do here? Am I supposed to do anything? And of course, very quickly, someone will say, no, don't touch it. Don't, we'll get it handled. But yeah, you can definitely mess. It's not that it can't be fixed if you accidentally, you forget that part of it and you hit approve or I don't whatever. Can it be fixed? Yes, but you're going to cause a delay when we're having to maybe redo a couple of steps. So just realize until we say congratulations, book 100% completely done, approved, ready to go. That's yeah, like Rich said. Then that's when you'll change your account where it's just your account for you to get in there and order books or whatever, check your royalties. Um, yeah, that's good advice. And also yeah, the Amazon thing um, like Rich said, there's just simply nothing. And of course, we get calls about it because that's where everyone checks. They check Amazon more than anywhere else. Hey, why is my price wrong? Why is my delivery date? Like there was one yesterday where it said you can buy the book today, and then it said have it delivered April 6th. Obviously, that's not
20,
correct.
yeah, 2026.
Yeah, 2026. Yeah, so obviously the book's going to be delivered before 7 months, but it's just working out kinks before everything is 100% completed. So I can't stress enough, don't freak out when you don't understand something or something, you have a quick reaction that it's wrong or somebody messed something up. It's just more than likely not the case. So just reach out to Rich or myself or production and just say, hey, can you check on this? And then we'll probably have an answer for you within 10 minutes and tell you, oh yeah, here's what happened here, or here's why this is this way. But yeah, like Rich said, if only one place has it messed up, that everywhere else has it right, then that's on the other side. That's not a Genesis. Genesis didn't do anything incorrectly at that point. It's just an Amazon glitch. I won't even say they did anything wrong. It's just it's a glitch in their system that'll get worked out. But yeah, I think that pretty much sums up everything. I think really the main takeaway in this process is we're always here. You're not on your own. Just because we don't live next door or, you don't meet with us weekly on a personal level. We're a text away, a phone call away, an email away, and we can always get you back on the right track if you're having some sort of an issue or breakdown or, whatever it is in your mind. We'll help you get back on track.
Yeah. Oh, I would echo that. Just over communicate, send, as many emails as you need to or texts. And I think, of course, this is true of any business, right? Like if you send us a message that you need a help with, yeah, I didn't love how my interior layout was and I don't really know what to do next. And we respond back saying, hey, we're going to check on it. We may have 10 other things that we're going to check on for other people at that time of day, but we are going to check on it and get back with you. And if we don't feel bad about, shooting a second text message a couple hours later saying, hey, just checking in. Like we're also human beings, right? We could forget, but likely we won't. But we're totally okay with at 8 o'clock at night if you're freaking out about something and it's halfway through Monday Night Football and you text and say, hey, we're just freaking out about this a little bit. That's again what makes us a little bit different than everybody else. Is we're going to try to figure it out right then, even though it's not business hours and we're not maybe the people who are working on that part of the project. Just over communicate everything you feel, and we'll try to at least be the Panama Canal and funnel that to wherever it needs to go, even if we're not able to handle it ourselves. But don't feel bad about reaching out to us. We want to help.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, all right. Well, hopefully this has helped for those of you who have never published before or maybe never published with us. I hope this sounds different because we are different and we want to be, if you've published with another company in the past, our goal is when you publish with us, we want the end result to be, wow, I didn't know publishing could be this good, this easy, this informative, this quick, this flawless, whatever word you want to put in there. But yeah, that's the goal every time. So, uh, over communicate, let us know what we can do, whatever it takes. We're gonna give you the result that you want at the end of the day. So I'll leave it at that. Thanks for watching, and we hope to talk with you soon.
Yep. Take care.